nor do I have the feeling of being smart. It's just, it is as it is,
Yeah.
kind of thing, you know? So for me, the knowing something about your nature leads automatically into a sense of acceptance. In terms of the plug and the outlet, the example that I was giving is that some people are continuously on the move, just like certain animals that moving very, very quickly. And certain animals, just like certain people, move very, very slowly. And what I've come to recognize after working with maybe 35, 40,000 people over the last 35, 36 years is that people have a certain nature. Some naturally move fast. Some, their engines seem to have 16 or 32 cylinders. Others, they move slowly. It's almost as though some are designed to go out and look for things, and some are designed to just wait and be found. And the value of that is that once you recognize what your nature is, then that old thing that we all experience, I mean, for me, I've been moving fast since I was an infant. I got up to walk at 6 months of age. That was unheard of, you know, 60 years ago. And I was actually walking shortly after that. But most of my life, people said, oh, you got to slow down. I wasn't designed to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way my system, it's like a cheetah. It moves quickly. And then there are other people who naturally move slow. And yet the world says, oh, no, you got to move faster. But that's their design. And it's not their design that way because that's part of the way the entire universe stays in balance. Everything has, it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Everything is a certain part of the universe's engine, if you will. And it has to work in harmony and so on. So for me, recognizing our nature is important. Are we one that's constantly moving? Are we one that has a tendency that just needs to wait until the world calls upon them? All of that is part and parcel with recognizing your nature and leads or can lead to a possibility of a gradually expanding unconditionality about how we accept ourselves. And what's beautiful about that is as I become more accepting of myself, there's a softening that happens and a greater acceptance of the world. And that doesn't mean that I feel accepting about everything that happens in the world. It means that I accept it when I have a yes for life, and it means that I also have a yes for my nose. So the unconditional acceptance is beautiful because it includes even those instances when we're not unconditionally accepting. It includes all of it.
Yeah.
In other words, our humanity is included.
Yeah.
Those times that we think we're on the track and those times when we think we're off the track. Those times when the mind is empty, and even those moments when we think, oh, there's judgments going on. It includes, and the hands are big enough to hold all of that.
Yeah.
And then something happens for us after that. We
Yeah.
just relax into our own skin. How that happens, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Just by grace.
Yeah.
Just by grace.
Yeah. Well, as time goes on, and having done so many workshops and so many therapies, just like you were talking about yourself, and you know, and I see a lot of people here on Maui and everywhere, you know, just running from one thing to the next. What I found is that there's a Yiddish expression that you gave me the other day that nothing works.
Yeah, Gornish helfen, nothing works.
Gornish helfen, yeah. And I have actually found that that's true.
I guess what I'm saying is that life's going to have its way with us. You know, we're like a feather in the wind, and the winds of life are moving. That doesn't mean that we're a victim. It means that we are divinely cared for. It means that the intelligence that grows the flowers and the trees and the animals is also breathing us. In fact, we don't even breathe on our own. Something is breathing us. something is moving us. I mentioned to you the little story about my daughter and I when we were having a conversation out on my lanai, and she wanted to share with me something that had happened the day before and find out had she made the right choice. And when she asked me, something grabbed my attention out to the right, and I found that my eyes and my head just lurked to the right, and there was this big tree moving back and forth, and I just had this revelation. And I said, Gina, do you see that? And she said, what do you mean, Dad, the tree? And I said, yes. I said, what do you notice? She says, it's swaying back and forth. And I said, now, if you didn't know that an invisible force called wind existed, you might actually think that the tree was moving itself. But now that you know that something exists called wind, even though you can't see the wind, you know that it's the wind that's animating the tree, the movement of the tree. I said, what do you think's moving the wind? She looked at me. I said, something even more invisible, right? I said, you know, each day as human beings, we moving around the world, and we see other humans appearing to be moving, and we forget the invisible wind. We get the impression that they're making things happen, that they're the ones that are creating the movement. And we forget that the only constant is change. Movement is continual, but there's something animating the movement, and it's not us. It's the same thing that's breathing us. Once we gain a respect for that, we begin to understand something about our nature. We begin to understand even something about seeing. One of my big discoveries with seeing and recognizing that it wasn't happening in the eye is for many years I thought, the seeing is happening in the mind. That's why we call it the mind's eye. So I was trying to create change by creating shifts in the mind. But for years I tried to quiet the mind. I would meditate, and boy, seemingly everything would get quiet till I opened my eyes. Then it would start chattering again. And my idea was, how do I take this state in meditation and bring it into the world? And so I took my 20-minute meditation and I broke it into 20 one-minute meditations, and then 40 30-second meditations, and 80 15-second meditations. And I found that I could close my eyes and drop into that state. And then I started meditating while I was driving with the eyes open, trying to take that same feeling into my everyday life. And I began to realize something about this seeing mechanism. As I started to integrate my meditation so that my life became the meditation, it wasn't that I achieved that quietude and peace while I was sitting in my room, but how could that meditation be inseparably connected with everything I did? How I washed the dishes, how I made my bed, how I paid my bills, how I returned my phone calls. And then I realized that the world had a timing about it. Things came into our awareness at certain times, and I began to realize that isn't by accident. That's the prioritization of the universe's intelligence. There's a reason why things enter our awareness at a certain moment. Now, I got this 30-something years ago when my children were small, and I noticed that they would leave their toys everywhere. I would tell them to pick up their toys. It would work for about 5 minutes, and then they would leave them again. And then I realized, wow, I can't get them to do that. Maybe I can use this experience for something different. And so what I said is, anything that enters my awareness is looking for me.
Let's hold that thought, because I want to, this is a two-part show. So I want to come right back to that. Hold on to that, and we're going to come back to that in the next segment.
Great.
Okay, hold that thought. Okay, y'all, that's it for this episode of Life on Maui. This is part 1. We're going to continue in a part 2 segment of this show. So I want to thank Serendipity Maui for the wardrobe tonight, Serendipity Maui. And thank you, Jacob, for this wonderful
My pleasure.
part of the interview, and come back next time for part 2. And until next time, aloha.
Call me crazy, but I'm never giving up my dreams. No matter how far away they seem, maybe crazy